Like counselor, Sue.
Yeah, and well, but whatever. My favorite mispronunciation has been finger ball, which I, yeah, which I feel like is like maybe medical, like, oh, yeah.
Congratulations, I heard, we meetings.
Yeah.
We're pretty good.
Seems like.
There's a lot of my shop reporters, well, so they, yeah, kept the conversation very positive. Yeah, yeah.
You-
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I'll do it for it, but I was like, it's my kids. I where my pin. I need to put
I
it
know.
down.
Today was that day.
Yeah, I guess just put it in. I think we're next week tomorrow, not next week. Next week we're going to do that.
Okay, you, Providence.
Providence on Friday?
We'll see. Did they join? Okay. What's that show? Pride, Providence?
Oh, yeah, we're doing that together next week, right? Yeah.
Oh, I haven't responded to that. So you were, on TV or so?
Oh, you were?
That was not.
That's fun.
Yeah, I think
He looked like.
It was for a while, yeah.
18 years.
Ah, you're pro.
But was Saturday a lot more because of COVID.
Oh. Well, people were home.
Yeah.
You know, calling.
Yeah, he raised 625,000.
No.
No, it was over $1 million. They said auctions and everything, the first time that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's nice. That's a good introduction.
Last time I went was 15.
I had it.
I wasn't invited.
In the morning, I'll put something together for you.
You should stick to it now.
Yeah.
You should stick to it now.
So it's,
John Kelly. Which you probably had.
What shaking?
So man, I felt on my phone, it's totally warm, so I'm just putting up there. Things going in between 8:40 and 9:10. Jim, Brandon. Yeah. And then he was like, you didn't do that.
Good evening. My name is Councilwoman Helen Anthony, Chairman of Finance. I'm calling to order a regular meeting today, February 7th at 5:30 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you put the roll, please?
Chairwoman Helen D'Antoni,
Present.
Vice Chairman Juan Pichardo,
President.
Councilman James Taylor,
Yeah.
Councilor Sue Enderbois,
here.
Councilor Miguel Sanchez.
President.
We have 5 present, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. I'd also like to mention that we have our wonderful clerks, Julie Polanco and Tina Mastriani.
Thank you.
Here tonight. Thank you very much. We also have Assistant City Solicitor Ken Cheverini. Thank you so much for coming. With that, Madam Clerk, would you read the first item on the agenda?
Item number 1, resolution authorizing approval of the following contract award by the Board of Contract and Supply in accordance with section 21-26B1 of the Code of Ordinances. CDN Smith Inc. Water Supply Board, $9,195,000.
Thank you. And who do we have here tonight to present? Okay, just would you mind introducing yourself and letting our clerk swear you in?
Joseph Pepina, Senior Director.
Catherine, Chief of Technical Services.
Greg Teason, Executive Engineer.
Raise your right hands. Do you swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
And Mr. Mancini, are you presenting this evening? Or-
Yeah, not here to support the water supply.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your attendance. Okay. All right. Then if you would proceed with your presentation.
Good evening, Finance Chair Anthony and all the members of the Finance Committee. My name is Joe DePina, and I am the Senior Director of the Providence Water Supply Board. On behalf of the board, our General Manager Ricky Carullo, and the Executive Management Team, I want to thank you for the opportunity to discuss the awarding of the accelerated lead service line replacement to CDM Smith. The bipartisan infrastructure law, also known as the Infrastructure Improvement and Jobs Act, passed in 2021 Congress. The BIL, as it's known, set aside approximately $15 million specifically, billion with a B, specifically for lead service replacement, of which $140 million has been allocated to Rhode Island. This funding will be distributed over the next 5 years at approximately $28 million per year. In preparation for our allocation, Providence Water went out to bid for program manager services to plan and execute an aggressive plan to replace approximately 25,000 private lead services over the next 5 years. Through that competitive bid process, the CDM Smith proposal was selected. Tonight, we respectfully request the approval of this committee to proceed with the awarding of this important contract, but we understand that you may need more information. Joining me this evening, as previously mentioned, are Greg Gajan, who is our Deputy General Manager and Executive Engineer, and Catherine Mello, Chief of Technical Services. And with that said, we will entertain your questions. Thank you.
Hey, committee members.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilor Sanchez, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come before this committee to present. Just my first question is the 141 million that was awarded from the federal government for all of Rhode Island or Providence only?
Yes, it's a good question. It's for all of Rhode Island. So like I said, it's 15 billion. And typically when federal money gets allocated for that, Rhode Island usually gets 1% of that. So it's about 140 million. That money will be distributed through the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. So we're applying, we're going to ask for, this year, we're going to ask for 25 million. So we're applying to the Infrastructure Bank coming up soon and hopefully in the next month or so to get 25 million for this construction year. And as it says, it's an accelerated program. We're hoping to spend the entire 25 million this year. So it's very aggressive, very, very aggressive.
So
Go ahead, please.
the 9 million that's in this contract is part of that 25 million for this year.
That is just separate. That's part of it. The 9 million is a 2-year contract for these, and that's part of that. So that's going to come out of, some of that's going to come out of the BIL money, and some of it's going to come out of our IFR plan. So it's going to be a mix of money, because some of it's public side, some of it's private side of the services.
Right.
I'm sorry, can you clarify that and not use the IFR? Can you just?
Oh,
tell us
I
what that
apologize.
is?
Yeah, I
Because
get
we're-
stuck on that kind of
Yeah,
apologize.
if you would be so kind as to kind of explain.
I
that
will.
more.
So we have, like I said, we're awarding 9 million to CDM Smith to do program management service, be a program manager for this project. That's over 2 years, correct? So roughly about 4.5 million per year is going to go to help us be a program manager. That is going to be a mix of the federal money and our funds that Providence Water has. It's going to be a mix. What that mix is, I don't know at this time, but it'll be a mix of those two.
So just to clarify, so the 4 million is for the oversight of the project.
Correct.
And that is not the 25 million that you will be applying to the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank.
Some of that 4 million will be paid out of that 25 million.
Okay,
That mix of our own funds and the BIL funds, we don't know that mix just now, but eventually some of that money will be paid out of the BIL.
okay. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
Councilor Sanchez or
Yeah.
Councilor Anderson.
Thank you. So I guess my question is, so if the 9 million is, I have 2 questions, if the one, also thank you for being here. Once you do that, I'm like, here are my questions. Sorry about that.
Appreciate such a short notice.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. So if the 9 million, 4.5 per year for the next 2 years, if that's for program oversight and management, how much is actually going to actually replace for the lead pipe replacement?
So let's say we ask for 25 million this year. Whatever that money is going to be allocated for lead services, right?
Mhm.
So whatever when you do lead service, our lead services roughly cost, well, let me take a step back to all the same thing. A lead service has what we call 2 parts. It has the public side, which is from the main in the road to the curb.
Mhm.
And then from the private side, which is the customer's plumbing, goes from the curb into the customer's home. We roughly, right, our rough estimate right now is that the public and private side cost about $4,500 each. So the public side is about 4,500, the private side is about 4,500. So, but that 4,500 includes the digging, the pipe, the labor, the street repair, all that's all encompassed. So whatever, we're gonna spend 25 million, and we're gonna do as many lead services as we can. Whether it's putting the pipe in the ground, the labor to do that, plus whatever cost of that program management. So it's, I don't know the break even of the two, is because anything on the public side is paid for by Providence Water. And anything on the private side is paid for, will be paid for by BIL. But there's one caveat there, it's kind of confusing, but this money has what's called, it's part of it's a loan, part of it's principal forgiveness. So the principal forgiveness piece will be used for the private side, and the loan part will be used for the public side.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
And then can I ask one more?
Please, go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Council.
And then, so that answered that question. So then if the 9 million is partly coming from the bill money, and you haven't gotten the bill money yet, if we approve this contract now, is this just kind of like,
We can
What's
pay
the
for it
timing?
and reimburse ourselves.
okay, you can reimburse
Yeah.
yourself, okay,
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, no,
We're
that's-
trying to do this now because there's gonna be a lot of lead time
yeah,
to get to this work. We're gonna do a lot of public outreach. We have to do a lot of planning. So there's a fair amount of time between now and we put a shovel in the ground to
Yeah.
get this going. So like you said, we appreciate you getting this on a committee so that we can get this project going.
and CDM, will they be coordinating to try and do like a whole street at a time? Cause like I did mine recently and it tears up the whole, it's like a whole production, so if it's gonna create all these patchworks of tearing up the street, tearing up the sidewalks, it'd be great to just do like streets at a time, so we can do the repaving.
And to your point, that's better for us because it drives the cost down.
Yeah,
Doing a volume, doing more services on the street, so contractors don't have to remobilize into
Yeah.
multiple spots. We really want to just do all the services on that street, so that it's an economy of scale for our customers.
yeah, and that's how CDM is planning to manage it?
Yeah, and ultimately, we just don't have the staff. That 25 million has a lot of staff. We just can't handle that. And we're gonna have, it's over the next 5 years. We're gonna have an increase of a lot of project, that money's gonna come in. We're gonna need staff to handle that. And after 5 years, we're not gonna have a need for that staff. So it's
Yeah.
and help, not the word I'm looking for, annexation to our staff.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, there
or extension of our staff.
are ongoing projects will
Yeah,
continue.
we still have our,
Yeah, this is like a bump.
Yeah.
To just get through, yeah.
So my question is, thank you so much, Counselor. My follow-up question is, how are you determining which streets what is your approach? And how you're determining which the pipes are going to be replaced?
So we gotta bring the program manager on board,
Mhm.
and then we're gonna have the program manager work with us to try to find areas that maximize the model lead services, haven't been paved. And we're gonna start in what's defined as disadvantaged areas where, that's defined by the infrastructure bank. So those are the areas we'll start first. So that we gotta put all that in an algorithm and decide where we wanna go. And then at that point, we gotta reach out to, stakeholders like yourselves and say, this is where we wanna go. What are some of the issues? Have you just recently paid? Can we get into homes? There's a lot of stuff that has to go into it to set the program up. That's why we want to get them in as soon as possible.
And also, I just want another follow-up question. So the streets, so in my Ward 2, we had, I guess the main was replaced in a lot of Ward 2, which resulted in repaving of the roads once the project was complete. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how, I'm assuming not everyone replaced the service to their private homes. So, I mean, are you gonna go back are you gonna go back and do streets that were recently paved?
That's part of what we have to discuss, and we'll reach out to the council people in that area and try to figure that out. The benefit is if we did our side at that time, and you need to do the private side, typically you don't need to disturb the road to do the private side. It's usually from the curb into the house. So, and depending on the technique, you can just pull the service and it's minimal disruption. So it would be the curb and maybe the lawn or the customer's lawn that would be disturbed if we do the private side.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then using your approach, I'm just gonna say you're gonna be pretty much looking at streets that haven't been recently.
Correct, yeah, we're trying to, right. And like Joe said, the ultimate goal, and it's the federal government's goal, it's the state's goal to get rid of all lead services. So hopefully, the goal is to get all of our lead services out. The only frustration, and one of the frustrations you'll hear once we start reaching out, is just some customers that don't want to do it. It's their own plumbing, they don't want us in their home. It's not frustrating, it's a challenge that we'll have to deal with once we start rolling this program out.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna open it up just a minute. So this amount of money, is this included in the budget you presented, or is this?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Now, yeah, ultimately, it's within our IFR program. So I think we sent you our IFR plan. That IFR plan, we have about $30 million in that IFR plan. So that's included in that as well.
Okay,
Yeah. That's per year. There.
thank you. Council committee members.
One more, oh, you go first.
Okay.
I already got one.
Joe Tapp.
Thank you. Just for full disclosure, I'm on the board now. I attended the first one.
On the
So
water.
of the water supply board. Therefore, I can still vote, correct?
Correct.
All right. So thank you for being here. And it was my first one, so and I believe we approved this. I was part of this. Right? No?
Can't remember, did we?
I
can remember, was this board meeting or the prior one? I can't remember.
Okay, one of those, all right. So my question is a couple. One is in reference to CDM Smith. They're gonna be the manager of these funds. What, can you talk to us a little bit about what's the plan in terms of ensuring that at least some minority development and MDE, WD contractors and now,
Yeah, that's part of their proposal.
yeah,
Yeah, they'll ensure that we meet any of the MEW goals. In terms of contracting, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
They'll make sure there's goals. I think we wrote that into the contract that they have to meet those goals.
21%.
Their goal, I don't know if they have.
Right.
Try to achieve.
But they,
Right.
on their end, they have a goal of, for CM Smith themselves, they have a goal of, I think, 20%. And they presented that in their proposal. So they have that.
thank you. The other is in terms of coordinating the service of replacing these lead pipes. Is it part of also the coordination with Narragansett Bay and in terms of the sewer problems that may arise in some streets? Will you be reaching out to them to see if there's some work that can be done at the same time? So
We
that-
could, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's
we'll-
important.
we typically, usually if we do like the main replacement that we did on your streets, we will coordinate with National Brown Energy these days. We'll coordinate with the city of Providence, if it's Providence or Cranston, and we'll reach out to Narragansett Bay. Now, I will say that I'm not sure how many streets will interact with Narragansett Bay, but we'll reach out and let them know.
Yeah.
And Providence too, obviously, DPW owns the sewer, so we reach out to them as well.
That's important. The reason why it comes up, Madam Chair, is because
Please.
on you take Hamilton Street, between Hamilton and Congress, it seems that there's some sinkholes that appear. So if you're gonna go there and replace lead pipes, that I think that we should coordinate
Absolutely.
as departments to make sure that we get it done right the first, this time. And then the third is if you guys need some help, I think we as a city council people to
Yes.
get the word out, especially for those challenging residents that may need, to build some trust, so that way we can get rid of these lead pipes within our city.
Can I add to that? Do you mind if I add to that at all?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great point. We really appreciate that. And so Kathy especially, she's very much the subject matter expert in this. The reach out, a lot of utilities throughout the country are facing this now. Newark, New Jersey just went through it, Trent's going through it, DC going through it, Chicago's going through it. So there's a lot of data in terms of what they call voluntary programs. Right now, we have a voluntary program where, we do public outreach, we don't require the homeowner to replace it. That success rate is only about 70%. 70%. So that means let's say I'm making it for comparison, if we have 10,000 lead services. That means at the end of this program, we'll have 3,000 left, and just, I can imagine, that's just not acceptable. So you're absolutely right, we'll be reaching out, and we're gonna look for some guidance. To say, how can we get that number from 70 to 100? I mean, I think Newark, who made it mandatory, they required their constituents to replace it, and they only got to about 90%.
Can I follow up on that? I just wanted to, so how does that work with, so say somebody can't afford it. I know we have a loan program, I believe.
This will be free.
This will be
free
okay.
to the homeowner, correct?
And on a need basis.
It'll be free, just free,
Okay,
it'll be free.
all right.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the whole thing, again, that was why this was such a groundbreaking legislation back in 2021. It made it free for the homeowner. Now, the part of it is that 51% that's loans, RIB is really trying to work on getting that forgiven as well.
Wonderful.
So we've had more meetings than we care to about this subject. So, and we're happy to do it. It's just, we've been talking about this for 2 years. We're glad it's finally here.
As Greg mentioned, CDM Smith is one of the models for this type of program was New Jersey, and CDM Smith led that effort. So they received kudos from Vice President Harris along those lines. So this is a company that has experience doing this. That's completed some very aggressive projects.
So once once they're hired and on board and have an idea of what the plan is, will you be coming back to us to share that plan with us?
We could if you want to. I mean,
We would love that.
Okay.
We wouldn't mind.
yeah, I mean, if you want a working session with the council, if that makes sense.
We would be happy to do.
We'd be happy
Like
to
on
do it.
this particular matter, we might want to do a council support, but we would have to, think about that and invite you. But
We'd be happy to do it.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Again, it only helped the program. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Any more questions?
One final
Yes.
question, which I think you
Councilor
may have just answered. Thank you so much, Chairwoman. I think you may have just answered. It looked like CDM Smith was the only bidder. And is that just because they have this unique experience in the other places, or was there a reason no one else came in?
I'm chuckling because I can't tell you how many sleepless nights we had, hoping somebody would provide some competition. We bid, we want to bid, and we want to get competitive, but I've been in this industry a long time. CM Smith is just the leader in the space. They're really good at it. Like you said, Chicago has 500,000 lead services, 500,000. So, and they're working with them as well. So they've seen Newark, they created the program, like Joe said, they got a lot of kudos from Vice President Kamala Harris, that they're out there. We're glad to have them on board, but the cheap side of me is like, we wanted more bidders to get, cheaper, a better price, but that, again, at the end of the day, that's what you're gonna pay for getting that kind of service. Well, we're excited about it.
And members of this council will know when I had my school department hat on, we had the same experience with bus student transportation contract. You wanted to have competition, but it was always for a student who always came to the table because of the biggest in the country, actually one of the largest in the world in terms of student transportation. So very similar.
Great. Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Sanchez.
Where's CDM based out of?
They're incorporated in Boston, but they have an office in Providence.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And then, just a final question, you touched on it a little bit, there's a lot of movement going on at the State House in terms of lead service replacement.
About the legislation.
Does that play a role, or where does that tie into kind of your plans right now?
That's just, it actually probably helps us a little bit. I know there's competing bills in the Senate, now in the House right now. So again, we're just glad that the delegation is taking it up, and hopefully whatever comes out of it, it's gonna be better than what it is today. And so it's probably usually we're codifying some of the stuff that is already in place. And just, we hope one bill has some what I call teeth to say, hey, if you don't do your service, there's a fee on your bill. That'll go, maybe less of a volunteer program, more of a mandatory program. we'll kind of take a neutral position on that. We just want this to go forward. I think we really, and a lot of it is really, really hoping to get everything paid for when it's all said and done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
I make a motion that we approve number one.
Second.
Motion is made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Pro Tem. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much for.
Thank you.
Let us know if you want us to do that. And work in session. Love to do it.
Do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no business. I make a motion that we adjourn.
We're moved.
Motion to adjourn, made by Councilor Taylor, seconded by Pro. All in favor? All opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a record.
Yeah, check the record.